Hello everyone and welcome back to SAFC Fan TV and another edition of Thursday Night Live. We're back after the international break, ready to talk all things Sunderland preview and our game on Saturday against Gillingham. Not sure what Terry's getting up to, but joining myself tonight on the panel first and foremost we have Jacob Kirkbride. Jacob, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Jack, mate. Got home from work not long ago. Pretty exhausted, but looking forward to tonight's show.
Very good. Here we're also joined by Jack Shields. Jack, how have you been?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a weird weather day, hasn't it? We've had all sorts of days: sun, rain, snow, hail.
We have. Very peculiar. And of course, Terry, the mad mistake as ever. Terry, how are you doing? What you been up to? You got any interesting things you've been doing today usually?
Just been to work, then been for a run, having that hail slapping us in the face, which wasn't very pleasant.
Yes, that's been a very, very strange week, few days of weather, really, hasn't it? Really,
Why, it's England, isn't it? You got the Bahamas one, where you got Siberia next week.
Bipolar.
Very well put. As always, the live chat is open, so if you'd like to join us on there, contribute in there, read out as many comments as we can throughout the show. Andrew Flynn, Las Palmas, Gloves Off, DJ Sizzler Watson, Mickey Stewart,
Hi.
Billy G, Nat, Jimmy, and Mick Griffiths all join us in there. And apparently, someone from the Kirkbride household is joining us as well, it seems. Lads, I want to kick off with Ross Stewart. There's been a few rumours flying around. There might be injuries. Other people saying potentially something else. Of course, he got called up for Scotland. Didn't even get on the pitch for a second in either of their two. I think they were both friendlies as well. They played. So that was quite surprising to see. Terry, I'll start with you. How much of a concern is this then that Ross Stewart could be out? It seems.
Well, it's like a massive concern, isn't it? I mean, everybody thought it as soon as Jermaine Defoe retired that we thought it's going to happen. We just knew something was going to happen to Ross Stewart. It's just a Sunderland thing that happens, isn't it? It always happens to Sunderland. But I thought it was just COVID. I thought he's had a couple of COVID tests positive, a couple of COVID tests negative. But today there's 3 or 4 people coming different chats, and they're starting to say that he's possibly broke his foot and they could be out for the season. So I hope that's not true, because if that's true, that's our worst fears come to fruition, isn't it? With no striker, we have no striker at all. Because this weekend, there's no guarantee Broadhead's going to be back. There's no guarantee Pritchard's going to be back. We haven't got Defoe anymore, unless he decides to, sort of retract his retirement and put it on hold for 7 days, which would be great if he would do that just for this one-off. Because, how often does you got Ross Stewart all season, not missed a game, no, didn't even like getting injured at all, hardly. And then as soon as the striker retires, he looks like he's out for the season. So it's an absolute nightmare. And I don't know what we're going to do, Jack. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, we'll get on to other alternatives you could do if he is injured. I think for me, it just emphasises how disappointing it was for Defoe to hang his boots up only a few weeks after coming back. For the sake of seeing another 6 or 7 weeks out, I think he could have been a lot more professional and, seeing the season out, at least done his bit. He's decided not to, and now it looks like we could be paying the price for it. Gloves Off in the live chat, they said that Ross Stewart just busted a bone in his foot, probably out for the season, which would be a massive, massive fist. I'm sure 1 or 2 games, as much as we would suffer, if as long as he was back in time, it wouldn't be too bad. But the rest of the season, I would almost pretty much write off our promotion hopes. I think if Ross Stewart was out for the rest of the season. Quickly on the live chat as well, Jake Parkinson, Brian Gartner, Emma Hansen, friend of the show, Alan Robertson, Mick Griffiths on there. I was going to say hello to Tony Lee, Tom, who's tuning in as always, Nigel Dunn, and Ian Barron, the Darlington fan, who's always in the live chat, is in as always. Jack Shields, yourself, Ross Stewart injured, how much of a big blow is that? Well, if it's true.
Yeah, it's a huge blow if it's true. We don't know. We'll not know until Saturday, probably, when, or maybe to press conference tomorrow. If Alex Neil's doing a presser tomorrow, he'll probably shed a bit of light on it. But it'd be a massive miss, not just the fact he's our main goal scorer and he's our only striker, but the overall, the whole of the way that our play goes through Ross Stewart. He's irreplaceable, absolutely irreplaceable. And I think it's sad that we left ourselves in this position. Nobody really knew Jermaine Defoe was going to do that last week, but it's still not great management and recruitment to leave yourself so open. And when you have such an important player, Ross Stewart, not backing him up and signing somebody in January, even a backup player or a younger lad on loan. Do you know what I mean? There was opportunities there, and we didn't really do it. I know people will say we've got Nathan Broadhead, but Broadhead's got injury problems this season, hasn't he? He's been out with a couple of injuries, so it's a massive concern. And yeah, I think it's difficult to write a cold season off, but I would really struggle with our chances now if Ross Stewart is injured for the rest of the season, and we don't know, so it's hypothetical at this stage, but it's a massive blow. You can't replicate what he does for the team, the pressing he does from the front, obviously his goals, his work in the opposition box at defending corners and free kicks, hold up and link up play. He's absolutely irreplaceable. Terry touching on it's just our luck, isn't it? I think from my point of view, that when everyone was saying, oh, it's good Ross Stewart's been named in the Scotland squad, I was really, really selfish and I thought it's a terrible thing. Do you know what I mean? I know Pete was thinking from his point of view, it's good for any footballer to represent the country, particularly when they're playing for Sunderland. But I thought it's an accident waiting to happen and looks like it might have come true. So selfishly, I was thinking I wish he hadn't been called up, but we don't know. It's a bit hypothetical at this stage.
Yeah. Terry, I know you want him before I go to you. I just want to say hello to the Bristolian Mackham, who's on the live chat. Hello to Patrick Ward as well, and Eddie Bamber on the live chat as well, and Nat, who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan tuning in. So, welcome to the channel, Nat. Welcome to the channel, Nat. Terry, you wanting in?
Yeah, I know I haven't got very good eyesight, but I'm sure I saw Defoe training with the lads on the video on their website. Was it yesterday? I might be wrong, but if it was Defoe, then surely he's in a position he could actually change his mind on this extreme circumstances. Because, I mean, how often does your main striker get, potentially a broken foot and out for the season with only seven games to go? But, if I was in Jermaine Defoe's shoes, I would say, right, okay, I'm going to retract that just for this sort of bizarre situation.
Yeah. Jacob, before we go, you just quickly back the live chat. Brian Watson saying Defoe's let us all down. Jake Parkinson says possibly bring Jack Diamond back, or am I being daft? I think you're being daft, Jake, to be honest. But Jacob, we'll go to you. How big of a blow could this be if Ross Stewart is out for a while?
Well, it's a question of Jack. It could, we don't know whether the rumours are true yet. Just had a glance on Twitter there. I haven't heard anything unless people know some inside sources where it could be true. But with him going on international duty, it was just written in the stars what was going to happen, especially after Defoe announced his retirement. It's just sums up the luck of the club, doesn't it? It just completely does. But it's interesting, obviously, what Terry said there, whether he's seen Defoe in training this week. And obviously, he's been brought back due to drastic circumstances. Obviously, we've seen Jack Diamond make a return to the training ground this week, so he's been recalled. So there's definitely something,
Not necessarily. I think it was in Diamond's contract when he went Harrogate on loan that he could return to the state, he could return to the academy to train with us every now and again. Really? I think just like he hasn't been recalled. I think that was part of the deal, is that we could still have him training with us when we wanted him to. I think.
Well, Jack, to be honest, if the rumours are true about Stewart's injury, recalling Jack Diamond wouldn't be a bad option, to be honest. Who else are we generally getting to play in that? I think Jack Clark has played as a forward earlier on in his career. Nathan Broadhead, for me, I think the exact same mistake will happen like what happened when Alex Neil threw him in at the deep end against Charlton's, put him in the starting lineup and he hadn't kicked the ball in 3 months. I just obviously say my prayers now that this is really not true, because we are absolutely screwed if Stewart's out for the season. But him, like I said before, him going on international duty, you just knew it was going to happen, to be honest. I shouldn't find it funny at all, really, but it's just the simple bad luck we have at this moment in time. But it could all be false rumors. It could just be COVID. I kind of wish that was the case, but still, I kind of wish at the same time that nothing's wrong with him at all, really, and he's fit to play at the weekend. But we just don't know at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's a real shame because, it's not often that players playing for Sunderland do get called up for the national teams. I think while we've been in League One, we've had a few lads called up the likes of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but not loads. When you're a big club, I don't know, like Chelsea or Liverpool or Man United or whatever, you can expect, a large chunk of your squad playing for the national teams. And I think it's just nice to watch them. There's a lot of pride, I think, that comes with one of your players making the national squads. And when they go and get injured, of course, that's always the worry. It just, it makes you, makes you not want the players to go there. But It is a real shame. Like, just quickly going back to the live chat, Stephen Winship says, and yet another season in League One. I think if Ross Stewart's injured, I would for the rest of the season, I would definitely say that's on the card. Lazy Lobbers Magnet Fishing, what a brilliant name that is, said, someone said Defoe has been working with the kids, apparently, but another person as well in the live chat, I might have missed it. Someone was saying, in response to Terry, saying that it was just a young lad. It wasn't actually Defoe, it was someone else. So that looks like to be the case. I mean, if Ross Stewart is out there, if he is unavailable for selection this weekend or potentially going forward, we've got to think of who else we can put up top as the main man up front. Terry, I'll go to you on this first. Can I understand you think Luke O'Nien might be able to do a bit of a job for us there?
By the end of the day, I think we have to go 4-3-3, wouldn't we, really? Probably have the pace, probably have the Clark and Roberts with someone in the middle. Now, if we don't have Broadhead, we don't have Pritchard, and we don't have the likes of Will Harris, can we recall Will Harris on a situation like this? And will Will Harris be good enough to play in League One? So, I mean, I think we're going to have someone either like someone's mentioned, maybe Diaku, Clark and Roberts, those three up the top. So those three, or you could have Luke O'Nien in the middle, because Luke O'Nien, he's played that number 10. I seen him score a couple of goals that number 10 role before. So we're going to have to do something simple as, and we haven't got a striker if that's the case. So we're going to have to try something quickly. So I think those are the only options, really. There's nobody else. Because, I mean, I wouldn't want to rely on Benji Kimbioga, but if Benji gets brought into the side, which I don't think he would do,
please, no.
Then I'd rather rely on some of the forward-thinking midfielders, to be honest.
Yeah, quickly back to the live chat. Our very own Michael Bowers is in there. Says, to be fair, Alex Neil keeps his cards close to his chest with regards to injuries. But I'll concede we will seriously struggle to make the top six if Stewart is out, which I would agree with as well. And we've done that all season. We haven't, whenever there's been players that have been injured, we've waited as late as we can to release it. I remember when Sirkin was injured for Ipswich at home earlier in the season. He'd actually been out for a few days, not been training in the week leading up to it, but we left it until the game had been finished to release it, which is smart, because then your opposition teams get less information on who and who isn't available. Go on, Terry.
I was just thinking, because like Luke O'Nien's the only other player I can see he actually gets some height on his jump. Like Stewart gets height with his jump. Otherwise, we'll have to change tactics altogether and play the ball on the ground completely, and have go 4-3-3, and have the three midfielders further forward and just play the ball on the ground, and just hopefully we'll keep the ball and wave the ball further forward into the penalty box.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think he's physical at the very least. Like you say, he's got a decent jump on him. I wouldn't say he's particularly quick, but I think he can move about all right. He's got good fitness. I think he could put some pressure on defenders, and I think he's stronger than probably a lot of people make out. But relying on him as a centre forward, I don't know. I don't think he's got that technical ability about him.
But not the way we rely on Stewart. More sort of, we had to change tactics. The way we play a little bit. I mean, the goal he scored when we beat Fleetwood, I mean, that was a good finish. He scored a couple of goals last season, so he has the ability to put the ball in the back of the net. And how many other players do we have that can do that? Diago's only scored a couple of goals. Clark scored one, but missed a few sitters. So we're lacking in sort of players to go up top, to be honest.
Yeah, I think in and around the box, he does almost have a little bit of a knack of scoring goals when the ball's bobbling about or just kind of pops up in an area. He almost seems to have a bit of a goal scorer's instinct. I remember against I think it was Southend back in maybe the first or second season in League One. He scored a header inside the box as well. I think Denver Hume crossed it in. I think my worry with playing 09 there would be the link-up play when the ball's at his feet and he's got to make those short, sharp little passes quickly. He make nice little touches. I don't think technically he's got the ability to do that. I mean, Brian Watson on the live chat there saying, could we not even recall Will Grigg back? Which, I mean, as much as I don't think any of us really want to see him play for Sunderland, is that maybe an option for us, Jacob?
It's a question of how fit he really is at this moment in time, to be honest, Jack. But like I said before, desperate times call for desperate measures. And who would have thought we'd be relying on Will Grigg for the final 7 key games we've got this season? But let's just hope it's false rumours knocking about at the moment.
Yeah, Nigel Dunn on the live chat saying if Benji's back, it's because of the casual observer fan power, which I don't think is true. I think personally myself, before I go to you, Jack, I think the way I would look to do it is play instead of instead of one out-and-out striker, look to play a lot of lads who play in and around that area and just have them interchanging. Probably a 4-3-3 with one of your three centre midfielders quite attacking, and then have a front three just kind of interchanging. If Pritchard's ready to come back in, and only if he's ready to come back in, I would have Pritchard in there. I think you could maybe stick Embleton in there somewhere, but Clark, Roberts, maybe even Gooch or Jaku, someone like that. I think I would look to have a few players who, you know, are kind of wingers and number 10s and attacking midfielders, those kinds of positions, and look to have them just interchanging as opposed to playing one out and out strike, because I don't think we've got anyone at the club who's really good enough to do it. Jack, yourself, what would your suggestion be?
I just think you've got a massive hole now if Ross Stewart doesn't play, because if you do play someone like a Jack Clark or a Dejaka or someone like that, you're losing physicality against a centre half. You're losing an aerial threat, as we've touched on. So you would have to completely change the style of play. Probably go with three across the front. One right, one left, and one in the middle, but it's interchangeable, really. You know, you could use a bit more of a fluid system, and we're not as good as like a Barcelona or a Man City, but like almost like a false nine type thing, you know what I mean, where they're dropping deep and they're coming to meet the ball. I wouldn't play Luke O'Nien there. I think Luke O'Nien's best in the middle, winning balls, and then a lot of Luke O'Nien's goals seem to come when he's breaking from the middle. He's kind of getting on the end of passes and arriving late into the box. And I think if you're the focal point up front, you don't really offer that as much. I know what Terry's saying. He's a bit more of an aerial threat and a bit more physical, but I think if Ross Stewart is injured, you're going to have to completely rip up the whole the way that you played all season and probably go with, you know, somebody a little bit more small, a little bit more maybe technical and quick, and try and play kind of interplay between the front three. You wouldn't really be able to go wide. You'd have to pretty much go down the middle. So it leaves a massive hole. Hopefully, you know, everyone's fingers crossed praying that the rumours aren't true and he's not injured.
It'd be brilliant if it was all just hearsay, wouldn't it, really? And that come Saturday at 2 o'clock, we're seeing the starting lineup. Stewart's there starting. Just quickly going back to the live chat, Adam French on there says, put Callum Doyle up front. He wouldn't be any worse than Will. Great guess. Stephen Amos hitting that Man City don't necessarily play with the striker, saying he knows that we rely on Stewart, but they don't, you know, necessarily do that, which, you know, as much as we obviously don't have anywhere near the same quality as Man City, I think is a fair point. It's becoming a common thing in football nowadays. I think more common to not always play with an out-and-out striker, would have rather a few players interchanging, or I think Jack might have mentioned a false nine there, someone who kind of looks like they're a striker, but, you know, they're more dropping it in the midfield, really, and you've got players running past them. It's what Liverpool have made a success out of the last few seasons. Just very quickly, I want to say 122 people watching, 26 likes. If you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just hit our thumbs up icon. We'd like to see if we can get 100 before the end of the stream. And just a reminder as well, it is free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But we are now joined by a special guest, Owen Stanley, who is a Gillingham fan. I'll have to change that background 2 seconds. Owen, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, boys. How are you?
Very good, mate. Nice to have you on. I mean, I'll kick off, lads. I'm sure you'll all have your own questions for Owen as well. But, I mean, it's been a pretty disappointing season for Gillingham, hasn't it, really, so far? Did you expect it to be like this, or did you have high hopes?
Well, I think if you look back at the last 2 seasons under Steve Evans, a lot of the success, if you like to call it, I think finishing 10th 2 seasons in a row for a club like us is fair big success in this division. But the way things went in the summer, in terms of we lost Jordan Graham, who was a massive asset to us. He was partly the main reason, to an extent, why Vidal Oliver was able to score as many goals as he did, because the link-up play between them two and Carl Dempsey as well together just made us a really good side going forward, as well as a bit more solid defensively back then as we were. But this season, I know Steve Evans is not everyone's cup of tea, and he likes to sort of stir the pot and find the best excuse possible for that current day. But he's very quick to get on the COVID bandwagon after we had, I think, 3 weeks of pre-season this year, COVID, and it set us back. A lot of players were out for a long time. I think I actually listened to his first Stevenage interview the other day. I think the first thing he said in the first 10 seconds was about him having COVID issues at Gillingham. So that's what I want to let go. But, you know, it's been a disappointing season. I think, you know, where I look at it now, I think we're a lot higher than everyone had thought we'd be. I think after that 7-2 defeat at home to Oxford, I'd had us dead and buried. I'd given up. I thought we were going to finish rock bottom and there was no way back. But, you know, you bring a new manager in with a lot of games to spare, and you're in a position where you can start looking forward and not behind you anymore. And that's something we've not really been able to do for the majority of the season. So I suppose it's as good a time as any for us to start picking up points and see where we end up in the end.
Yeah, before I go to any of the lads, just one more thing for myself. Obviously, you mentioned Steve Evans there got sacked a little while ago. How did you feel about that? Do you think it was the right decision?
Well, I think a lot of our fans are sort of like it's like the modern football fan. They always remember the latest thing that's happened regarding a manager, and they tend to sort of think about it in the moment rather than look at it as a whole wider landscape of what he's done before. So I said earlier about the 2 top 10 finishes, that's the highest finishes we've had since I think 2014, 15, maybe 15, 16 under the late Justin Edinburgh. And it's been a long time since we got to that sort of height. I know it's like, for a team like you're probably thinking like 10th for the league, that's not an achievement. But for someone like us with the budget we've got and the players we've got, we did quite well for that. But I think for me, the main feeling is I enjoyed them 2 seasons. I know obviously one of them we didn't see any of it in person, which is disappointing. But I think in the end, it seemed to just completely unravel this season, and it was only ever going to go one way if he'd stayed. I know there's no obviously evidence to say that 100% we would have gone down because you're never going to know. But I think it was the right decision in the end. I think the way everything was going, the pressure was mounting, the excuses were flying out. As sort of like when you're not a Gillingham fan, you're listening to something about Steve Evans, you can find it quite funny. And then even as a Gillingham fan, for the first part of it, you can see what he says in certain games when he's trying to wind people up. But then after a while, it just grind on you, especially when results aren't going your way and you're sort of looking for this excuse and that excuse. So I think if we had kept him on, we would never be in the position we're in now where we've actually got a chance of getting out of it. I think we'd be looking more like a Crew, for example, 12 points adrift of us. And, you know, you've definitely achieved something if you're 12 points adrift of us, even if it's in the wrong sense.
Yeah, fair enough. Jack, I go to you. Have you got anything you'd like to ask Owen as a Gillingham fan?
Yeah, just you just touched on the manager. Steve Evans obviously struggled and didn't do very well. Neil Harris has come in. What do you think the difference has been? Is it just a confidence thing? Has he got the players playing better? Do you think he's a better manager ultimately, or what? Because it's happened to Sunderland a few times when we've been in the Premier League. We've been struggling under a manager towards the end of the season, looking like we're going to go down, and then suddenly we've changed the manager with sort of 8, 10, 12 games to go, and it's given us a little injection of a few results, and we've managed to stay up. So I just wondered from your point of view, what's Neil Harris doing differently? Does it just he's a better manager or what?
I think he's one of the best managers in the league, if I'm being completely honest. You look at his last 2 jobs in Millwall, this league, consolidating them in the Championship, doing well at Cardiff as well. If you think about it on paper, you're thinking, why someone like Neil Harris wanting to go to a side who are 23rd in League One, 10 points adrift? Like, what's the end goal with it? Because why would that be an appealing prospect to anyone, let alone a manager of his calibre? And I think a lot of it is you can see when we win games and our players do interviews after the game, the way they talk about him. I think the man management skills are on a different level to they were under Evans. I think he makes players who haven't performed well, haven't particularly scored a lot of goals as strikers, and he gives them that belief that they can go and do it. And I think the fact he's a former striker himself, like the prime example with Charlie Kelman, who came here on loan at the start of the season under Evans, and they had a big falling out during one of the Pineapple Passion Trophy games, whatever they're called, when we lost to West Ham, and they had a big disagreement on the pitch. He ended up being hooks, and then about 3 days later, he was sent back to QPR. And then when we had Steve Lovell come in for a 3-week period, he came back again. And since Harris has come in, he's looked a much better player. He started scoring a couple of important goals. Like the last 2 goals he scored have been goals that have won us important games. And I think it's just the arm around a player sometimes that you need, and he's really good at that. And I think the main thing he's done, that's because he's not an idiot. He knows we're not blessed with goals. He knows we're never going to score two goals in a game is like Christmas to us, honestly. Like, look, I don't think we've scored more than 3 goals in. Excuse me. I don't actually think we've scored 3 or more goals in any game this season. I don't think.
Wish I hadn't said that.
No. Scored more than 3. And
yeah, I've just got visions of you going 3 and look now.
Yeah. That being said, made us so much more defensively solid, which when you're a team who don't score a lot of goals, that's incredibly important. I think we held Sheffield Wednesday at home the other week, which is a game we really should have won. I think on another day we do win it. I was going to say we kept a clean sheet at Atkins, and they scored a 91st minute penalty, but we didn't concede from open play, I suppose. Kept a clean sheet away at Lincoln in that win. We just don't look like conceding that many goals. Whereas before under Steve Evans, every time a team went forward, it just looked like absolute panic stations all over the place. And I think that's epitomised in, the 7-2s to Oxford, the 4-0s to Ipswiches, and et cetera, and it just goes on and on from what we were doing earlier in the season to complete change now. I think that defensive solidity, which we've been lacking all season, could well be the reason that we stay up in this division, because it's not going to be because we score a lot of goals, because no Gillingham fan expects us to, because we just don't have the capabilities for that. You know, one of the big things he's done since he's come in, we've been without a lot of our best players. Alex McDonald got injured for the season, and I think that was at about October time, so still under Evans. Danny Lloyd was starting to come into form when Neil Harris came in. Then he did his ACL 3 days later away at Ipswich, so he's gone for the season. Mustafa Carriol's been in and out all year. He's injured again now. I doubt we'll see him play for us again. I think he'll be gone in the summer. It's just all these different players going out at different times, different injuries. Stuart O'Keefe's injured now. He got injured last week. Daniel Phillips has a really annoying way of being on the pitch, coming on the sub and getting sent off 4 minutes later. He's done that 3 times now. We worked out earlier, me and the group were with, he's got 3 red cards this season. There's been a 10-minute period combined for all 3 of them. So he tends to get booked and then get another one about 3 minutes later. So there's another one we miss. I think to get us out of the situation from 10 points adrift to 4 points clear with all the injuries he's had and the squad he's had, and I think it's been a remarkable job. And no Gillingham fan would have ever perceived this happening. We all thought we were dead and buried, but we have a chance finally.
Well, yeah, hopefully someone winds him up on Saturday, then he gets himself 2 yellows. Jacob, before I go to you, just quickly on the live chat, Nat, who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, says Gillingham played well against them. But Jacob, I'll go to you. Have you got a question?
Yeah, for the Gillingham guests we've got on tonight, based on your, current good performances, obviously your last result was a 2-1 win at Accrington Stanley. What players would you say we need to watch out for on Saturday?
Well, much like I said with Neil Harris being too good for a team in 23rd League One, you could say the same for Ben Thompson, who came from Millwall as a free agent. I think he won a Portsmouth Player of the Year the last time he was in this division, and he's a cut above this division. I can say that like easy. Obviously, he doesn't have players of his same quality around him all the time in our squad. Like, no disrespect to him, but he's a very, very good midfielder for this division. He's very calm, very composed. He can pick a pass. He can run with the ball. He can move you up the field. He can do a lot of great things, and he's one of them players who, like, he's a bit different to O'Keefe. He plays with Stuart O'Keefe most of the time, but he's probably not going to play tomorrow because I think he's Saturday rather, because I think he's picked up an injury away at Accrington. But they have this sort of partnership where O'Keefe is when he doesn't too much because he sits back and just sort of lets the play go through, whereas Thompson will run. There's a great space. He's got an eye for a goal. He's got, like, I don't know if you saw it, you probably haven't because you're not a Gillingham fan, but the first goal we scored away at Lincoln with Dane Oliver's header, there's a great piece of play from Ben where he said he took the ball from the halfway line, run it into the corner, fainted to cross it on his left, quickly checked back on his right. No one expected it, and he managed to assist for Dane. Scored a great goal in that game as well, the second one, the clincher. Other players obviously would say for Dane, because for a team that don't score a lot of goals, he's definitely the one that you'd rely on to get it. He's got a lot of important goals recently. Obviously, the one at Lincoln, I just got the second, which would be the winner at Accrington last week as well. And he's definitely someone who's coming into form again at the right time as well. I would say it's not the most exciting choice because you're probably looking for players who might cause you problems. But I think you might find yourself quite frustrated going forward next week because Conor Masterson, who we bought in from QPR, has been the revelation at centre half. He's a big, tall Irish lad. And since we've gone back into the back three, which Neil Harris has put together, as I say, we're really solid. And I think with stalemate against Sheffield Wednesday, a game we really should have won. I think Harris has installed that in the team that, you know, we are capable of frustrating teams like yourself, Sheffield Wednesdays, etc., and making. So I think you'll have a quite difficult day going forward. But hopefully, we can put the very limited players you have available up the other end and try and nick some in, which we tend to do at your place, usually in injury time.
Yeah, fair enough. Terry, have you got anything you'd like to ask Owen as a Gillingham fan?
Who was in charge of the Bulls match? Was it Walsh, or what do you call him, or the new manager?
The 3-0
defeat.
That was Neil Harris, yeah.
So what's he done since then to change it around to get the sheets, keep the clean sheets and stuff, and make the defence better?
Well, that game, he said himself that he always alludes to that game. Actually, interesting enough, when like past press conferences, he says when my teams get it right, they get it right. And he said that after Lincoln, after Accrington, he said there was a time where we got it wrong when he was at the Bolton game. Well, I think, to be honest, just not at it. They got the first goal about the 36th minute, but they could have really had it within 3 or 4 minutes. They just didn't go in for that first half until 1.
So did he change much to put it right? What did he do? What's he done different since?
I think he's done it completely right. I think that was just a one-off game where he just made an error. He put himself, and since then, we played Bolton, great passing team, but then we've also played the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, and we've made ourselves so much more compact. I think that day we had to go to a back four due to injury, so we weren't in the normal three at the back that he'd set up before, and that made it a bit more different. I think players just didn't really know their roles. I think once we conceded the first goal in that game, edge drops, it became difficult against a good pass inside in Bolton, who obviously, ended Lee Johnson's club. But I think it's games where we started quite well under Harris with results we got. I think that game against a good side was sort of like the wake-up call we needed, to be honest. And I think it just made us more self-believing in terms of the players and getting it into sets that we can go and win this game. Because you've got to remember, a lot of these players were in like the Oxford where we lost 7-2, the Ipswich games where we lost 4-0. So they probably, back then, when things weren't going well, probably walking onto the pitch thinking they were already beat before the game's even kicked off. So I think having that and knowing that they can beat with these sort of teams is what has sort of gone and changed recently, because I know Accrington aren't obviously the size of like a Sunderland or Sheffield Wednesday or Rotherham or whoever else, but they're still a good team at this level. I think they were 9 unbeaten at home until last week when we went there and beat them for the 4th time in a row, actually. So it's just the knowledge that you can do it. And I think it helps, obviously, that the teams below us can't win for their life. I think Wimbledon haven't won in about 21 games. I think Fleetwood haven't won in nearly similar time as well. I think Crewe are too far gone now. I think Morecambe are there as well. The main reason I think we'll stay up is because we've shown we're capable of getting the odd good result, especially away from home recently. We've seen a bit of the good ones, whereas I look at their results every week, albeit Wimbledon have now changed their manager, so maybe that'll be a bit different. But do I think they'll go and get any finishing with Wednesday? No, I don't. But they just don't look like they can get points from anywhere. And we still have to play Fleetwood at home as well. So I think the main thing is change is just the self-belief in that time, because that Bolton game was fairly early in the rain as well. And since then, we've picked up good results against good teams that showed we are capable.
So what sort of fan base you got coming up at the weekend? Have you got many coming up?
I think we average. I think when I last went, when we when your old mate Michael Mandron scored, and I think it was a 96 or whatever it was. I can't remember how many had that day. We usually do bring a good amount to Sunderland. It's one of them because you are probably the biggest club in the league, not to boost your egos or anything, but it's one of them that when the fixture list comes out, people circle in the calendars and stuff like that, along with Sheffield Wednesday and the likes of that. I would expect I'd hope we'd manage to bring 600-800 around them, but I'm not too sure. It depends. Some you get the people who are always like, Sunderland away is a big game, I go to that, and then on the week it's quite far that, I can't really be bothered.
Yeah. Jack, you got one more thing you want to ask, Owen?
Yeah, I always ask. I always like to see what other fans' impressions of Sunderland at this level are. So we get it levelled at us a lot that we're arrogant. We demand, to get promotion, and we can't accept we're at this level, and we're all, we think teams at this level are beneath us, and we get all this kind of stuff thrown at us because we've got ambitions to play at a higher level. I just wonder what your thoughts were. And Gillingham's fans, I know you're not a kind of spokesperson for Gillingham fans, but how do your fans say? Do you think we're arrogant, or do you think it's just ambition because we have kind of desires and aspirations to go to a higher level?
Well, I think on social media you have a few fans who think you should be above where you are, but that's not an indictment on Sunderland fans as a whole, because every club, no matter what position they're in, has that sort of group anyway. But if I was a Sunderland fan, I'd be thinking, why are we in League One for nearly going to be 5 years later, potentially still in this division? You should never be in it. I think I'd be interested to know. I know that it was quite popular in the end to get rid of Lee Johnson, but I think you're in a worse position now than you were when you sacked him, weren't you?
I think it was we'd had quite a few losses, and I think we'd lost our way a little bit. I think we are picking up under Alex Neil, but for an outsider looking in, it might look like a silly decision. But when you're getting walloped 6-0 at Bolton, it's not so much of a daft decision, to be fair.
I think on paper it looks like we're doing a lot worse, but I feel like watching the games, you can maybe see a few kind of reasons as to why that's maybe not the case. But yeah, I can understand looking at the league table. We are probably technically in the worst position. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really think the fans particularly arrogant for wanting to be above the station that they're in, because you're a club who should be, minimum.
I like this lad.
I do as well.
We're still mud and dressed as lamb. It's just,
you see it on social media, particularly Twitter. anytime a Sunderland fan says, "Oh, we're the biggest club in the league," fans are like, "Oh, you think you deserve to get automatic promotion." It's really not that. We've just got ambitions. We just, no disrespect to Gillingham, and I've touched on it with other people. Matt from Gills in the Blood, I've spoken to him about this, and he said, realistically, no disrespect, but Gillingham are never probably going to be at the Premier League level, whereas we have been there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was a while ago, and we need to adapt to this level, but we have seen it. So that's I don't think it's arrogance. It's just a lot of fans seem to think that we are arrogant. We demand that we should have 100 points on top of the league every year.
Yeah, it's like an age thing, isn't it? So, like, for example, me supporting Gillingham, I grew up when we were in the Championship. I remember seeing us play at Upton Park like years and years ago. Obviously, as I've grown up, I realised we're a bit far away. But like, say you 3, 4, however old you are, you've grown up with, especially probably in top left, you're probably thinking, I was used to watching us, play at Old Trafford, play at Anfield, or whatever. That's sort of what you know from your time supporting the club, but you've never really been in a situation where you're. Yeah. I don't think many Sunderland fans have in like their history. I'm not sure the last time you were ever down in this division, but I've always known you because I'm 23, for example. So as I've grown up, I've always known you as being like, when I first started watching in the Premier League with, Kevin Phillips and and I've never seen you as a League One club. When you came down to League One, because, let's be honest, there's not that many teams. We seem to get like an on paper big team come down each year. Looks like next year it's going to be Derby. But the years before that, it wasn't exactly the most exciting league. So when someone like Sunderland drops into it, you think, oh, that's good. I wouldn't mind going up to there. That's a game I wouldn't think I'd ever be going to as a Gillingham fan. But I don't think it's arrogance. I think you just have ambitions at the level of the club that you are, which obviously isn't League One level. I think if you spoke to people who like, Sheffield Wednesday fans, Wigan fans, they'd say the same thing. Wigan won the FA Cup and got relegated in the same season. Now they're playing Burton Albion and Gillingham. But it's not what you affiliate with the club you grew up with. And I think I didn't expect it to be, when you first came down, I think you probably expected, just like most other fans did, that you'd be going straight back up. It didn't materialise like that, and it hasn't in recent seasons either. But I'd like to think surely you're not too far away now. Maybe if it's not next season, but next. Probably said this a lot over the past 3 or 4 years, but
been saying it for 3 years or something.
Yeah,
I've been going since the 70s, and we've never ever been this bad.
Yeah, I suppose, but like it's just one of them ones. I think you're not like you've been going back and forth between League One or Championship. Like say Wigan, for example, have been like up and down recently. Like Rotherham, for example, like that. I'm sure they'll be back here this time next year or whatever, a bit later on. But I think I don't think it's anything down to arrogance. Like if we say, for example, we went into League Two, we've been cheap. It's not. We don't want a fucking. We don't want a trophy for it, but we're the longest serving club in League One. I don't think we're gonna get it up on the wall. But like if we went down to League Two, we'd know we're not a League Two level club. So people probably think that's arrogant for us wanting to be back in League One or whatever. So I think it's just relying on the team you are and what you know is your team. And I don't think it's arrogant to think you should be a level above. Like I don't support Sunderland, but I can see quite easily you're not a League One club. I mean, for example, like the big changes between like certain teams in this league. I mean, look at your stadium, then you look at Accrington. Like that's the gulf that is in this division in certain places. But I think it's just a case of hoping you get back there eventually. I know it's taken a lot longer than you would have thought, but I suppose the longer you stay in this league, the longer more people associate Sunderland being a League One club now.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment one, really. It's just about, I think it's the expectation that comes with when you've been a Premier League club for so long. At the very least, I think Sunderland were a yo-yo club for a while, going between the Premier League and Championship. No one ever really kind of, expected us to be at League One for this long or even at all, really. I think the fans just kind of, it's not about, thinking you're just assuming you're automatically going to go up. It's just about, we feel like we're at a level that's probably beneath what we can expect to have. Owen, thanks for coming on. But before you leave us, have you got a score prediction for the weekend?
Be kind.
It's one of them where, as I said earlier, where Sheffield Wednesday are playing Wimbledon. If we lose, it's probably not going to be well. But given the recent form that we've had, it going 1-1, and we're probably going to equalise in injury time.
1-1. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Owen, thanks for coming on.
Get off.
There we go. Less said about him, the better. just very quickly before we move on to our next topic, 136 people watching, 63 likes. So if you haven't already, please do give us a thumbs up. We'd like to get to 100 on the Thursday if we can. So please do give us a like if you haven't already. It is free to do so. It'll only take you a second. And a reminder as well that subscribe to the channel is free and you won't miss any of our future streams or videos if you do decide to do so. Lads, before we kind of get on to Saturday, too much. There's just one topic I want to bring up, and there was a bit of news circulating today, and I think it was only rumours really. But Tyrese Dice, who's currently on loan to I think Spennymoor or Darlington, one of those clubs. It's a Spennymoor. There was a few rumours circulating today that apparently the club have told him he won't be offered a new contract in the summer when his contract expires. But I just want to throw out to you lads because I feel like he's made a few appearances for the first team this season as well as in pre-season. I felt as if he did all right. He held his own. He was okay. Terry, I'll go to you on this. Do you think that could be a mistake? Do you think he deserves more of a chance?
I'm quite surprised with that, to be fair. I mean, it clearly must state that Huggins is going to be back next season and that he's doing well in training at the moment, or if is he even training at the moment? I didn't know what's going on with Huggins, but if they're letting Tyrese Dice go, then obviously we must have plenty of left backs at the club. But I thought he would have been here next season. To be honest, I thought he was all right. When I saw him in 23, I thought he played canny. He seemed like a big shit house. He seemed to hold his own. He seemed sort of decent pace. So he mustn't. He's either on too much money or just doesn't cut the mustard.
Yeah. Jack, I'll go with yourself. Do you think Tyrese Dice has maybe got something to offer? I mean, I thought he's always looked okay when he's been in the first team.
Yeah, I thought he looked one of the better ones. I don't watch a hell of a lot of the under-23s, but the occasions I have watched him, he's looked all right. As Terry touched on, he's got a big physique about him. He's a big old unit, isn't he? I wouldn't like to go into a fight with him, put it like that way. He's certainly flattened me. But I think, I just think, if he's not showing anything, then now's the right time to, because I think a lot of our fans get clung on, are really clinging to playing youngsters. And I think it has to be the right fit. You can't just play youngsters for the sake of it. That the people that are watching him regularly, if he's not developing, then it's best off to let him go and get some football. But I'm surprised because he has looked one of the better players at the occasions that I've watched him. So maybe we've got other players coming through, but they'll see him more regularly than I will. And obviously he's not cutting it, so it's probably best to make the decision and let him go on to get football rather than just keep him around for the sake of keeping him around if you don't rate him, because that does nobody any good.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him a handful of times for the 23s at Appleton or at the stadium this season. He's had a couple of appearances, I think, in the Cups. He stood in, as well as pre-season. He seemed to play quite a lot, really. And I never really felt as if he looked out of his depth. I always, don't get me wrong, there was holes in his game. I think you could tell he needed to mature a little bit, and his positioning sometimes left a bit to be desired. But I thought on the whole he was, thought he did all right. And like you see, Terry touched on there. I think he's got a lot of physicality about him. Seems to be really versatile as well. I mean, there's been times for the 23s he's playing just off the shoulder of the striker, but it seems that his strongest position is left back. I felt like there was an opportunity to bring him into the team around about October, November time. We had a bit of an injury crisis, and we ended up playing that weird kind of lopsided back four where we had Bailey Wright, Flanagan, and Doyle as three centre halves. Gooch was then filling in as a full-back, but then also having to get forward a bit. And then you had Xhaka on the other side, who wasn't really doing much defensively, but was kind of more of an attacking winger. I felt like we had a perfect opportunity there. If there was ever a time you wanted to give Tyrese Dice a chance, it was then. As a left wing-back, I felt as if he was physical, he could have got up and down. And I often say to wing-backs, I don't think you need a great deal of technical ability. The main requirement of a wing-back is just to have the fitness and the pace to get up and down, win your battles, and offer a little bit of link-up play and a little bit of support to the centre-halves when you're defending. And I felt as if there was a perfect opportunity to bring him in, it would have been then. Terry, were you wanting in just before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering who makes these decisions. This has surely got to come from Alex Neil. I mean, it can't come from anybody else, otherwise it's just the club's run wrong, simple as. I mean, we've seen players go already, like Younger's gone, Flanagan's gone. So, I mean, it's got to be the manager's got to decide whether he likes the player or not. And if he doesn't think he's going to fit into the team that he wants to have, then I can understand that. But if it's someone like Christian Speakman who doesn't want them, then I don't get it.
Yeah, Jack, were you wanting in there? Sorry.
Yeah, I just think maybe he's taking advice from somebody, because Alex, he hasn't been here a great deal of time, and maybe he's been passed on information, and I don't know if he's had a great deal of opportunity to look at him himself. So maybe he's hearing things. Maybe it's an attitude thing. We're all judging it on his physicality and the way that he plays, but you don't know what he's like. I mean, it's hard to judge a football. Maybe he's gone down to Spennymoor and hasn't developed, isn't showing the right attitude, and we're looking at that combined with the fact that he's not, setting the world alight. Maybe looking at it and thought, well, you're not for us. You know what I mean? Maybe it's an attitude thing. Maybe he's not showing the right things off the pitch, so to speak. He's not showing the right attitude in training and things like that. And maybe we just decided to cut our losses in that respect.
Yeah, Jacob, I'll go to you. How do you feel about the news that looks like Tyrese Dice looks like he's leaving the club at the end of the season?
To be honest, Jack, it doesn't really surprise me, to be honest. I think if the managers we've had this season, Lee Johnson, Alex Neil, thought he was good enough, I think he would have at least made some appearances off the bench for the first team this season. But go back to last pre-season, I think he came in from West Brom. He was a youth prospect who, I think, been released by West Brom. He was one of our key starters during pre-season. And then it was surprising going into the start of the season. I think on one side, we had no fit fullbacks. I think it was on the left. I'm not sure if he could play there, but we ended up playing Dan Neil at left back for the first game of the season against Wigan. You thought potentially, you look at someone who has maybe not been obviously the player that we thought would be a decent player, but at the same time, he has done a solid job for us, and you would have thought he would have been given a chance. But yeah, is it permanently, or is it just a loan deal?
Well, he's on loan at Spennymoor, but I think his contract's due to expire at the end of the season, and what they're saying is that he's not going to be offered a new one.
I mean, it could go back to, like what Jack said, there could be an attitude problem behind the scenes. We just don't know. I'm not really too sure whether Alex Neil's getting too much of a say on these decisions. I mean, considering the fact that, he came in right at the back of the transfer window as well. Same with, that could be with Flanagan going as well. I think I'm not sure whether he had too much of a say on that, but yeah, it's different. I think Tyrese Dice, I think if he was good enough, we would have seen him more consistently this season, but obviously it's what it is. He's gone out on loan, and I don't think we'll see him next season.
Yeah, go on, Terry. I mean, you're muted at the minute, but
Oh. If he realised, he hasn't realised.
No idea that he's muted.
Nope.
There we are.
As I was talking to myself, I was saying to myself, Dyche has only come off the bench once for Spennymoor. That's the only time. His last game was on Saturday gone. He came off the bench, and Spennymoor got a very late equaliser. So that's all the game time he's had so far at Spennymoor.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I mean, people were talking about it there, but I don't think he's been on loan for that long, has he? Was it only a couple of weeks ago? I think he initially went out. I mean, we'll probably leave it there on Tyrese Dice. I just thought I would throw it up there because I've seen it today. We're going to get on to Saturday then. I'm just tempted to know, kind of, now that a lot of the lads have had a big time to rest up. Some have been playing for the respective international squads, and of course, there's a couple of rumours of injury. Kind of what team would we be going with? How we look to set up? Terry, have you got the whiteboard there to show us?
No, because my local 9 up front's stupid. Everyone laugh at us. I'm not going to put it up there again.
No, come on, Terry.
No, I haven't got one.
It wouldn't be Thursday Night Live without the match.
I'll tell you what, wait there, Mitten. I'll leave the middleman out. I don't know who to put there.
Here we go.
Everyone get excited. So, Terry's going with Patterson in goal. Oh, he's put his mic back on.
There we go. I'd rather go back to 4-3-3 with no Stewart. And Winchester right back, second left back, Doyle right in the middle, Evans, Matete, Neil. I'll only put Evans there because I'm pretty sure Evans is going to start, regardless if I want Luke 09 there or not. Because personally, I'd rather have Luke 09 there with Matete and Neil than Robertson, Clark, and who else up front? Your guess is as good as mine.
Good answer.
There we go. A lot better. That's that screen off the. I'll have to get that face off the big screen. Jack, I mean, going to yourself. Now that the international break's done and we've got a fresh start, no midweek game as well for a little while. Looks like a decent opportunity to with a lot of players available. Is there anyone else you will bring back into the side? How would you kind of set things up?
I think it all depends on, as we've already touched on, whether Ross Stewart's fit or not. I think I like Terry's team, bar Corey Evans. I would put Luke O'Nien in the centre mid team, in the centre mid role where Corey Evans was. Put him there, and then up front, I would maybe move Clark across to play as a central striker, false 9 type, and then either Roberts or Dijaku on where he had Clark. But other than that, I was finding myself looking at it, agreeing with a lot of the team. I think you can't take Patterson out, at the minute, because I think he's done all right in the last game. And I think, phone was ringing. Sorry about that. So I don't think you would change too much from the last game. I think really we've been solid at the back recently. We haven't conceded many. It's just a case of can we find that cutting edge up front, which Ross Stewart being out would be a massive negative in terms of creating chances and finishing it. But that's what I would go. 09 in the middle, drop Corey Evans from what Terry said, and Clark false 9 with maybe Roberts or Dijaku in the left-hand row.
To be fair, I think we'd all start to go 9, but we know fine well Corey Evans is starting on Saturday. That's like it's like death and taxes. It's 100% certain.
Death, Taxes, and Corey Evans. That would be a good title for the video. That actually wouldn't have.
Would I?
Death, Taxes, and Corey Evans. I know I suggested about 4-3-3 earlier on, being an avenue to explore, but Jack touched on how strong we've been defensively recently. So I don't know if I would really want to change the back line much. I know we were playing 3 at the back, weren't we, with Winchester as the right centre half, Bailey right in the middle, and then Sirkin at left centre half. And obviously wing backs either side. And if that's working to keep us clean sheets, well, then I would maybe keep that. Maybe you then go 3-4-3, which I think's pretty similar to what I've been going with. And that front 3 is maybe Clark, Robertson, and Pritchard or Broadhead if either of them's back. If not, you maybe look to someone like Gooch or Dijaku in there. Let us know in the comments. Well, I'll see if I can read a few out before the end of the show. But I think I don't think I would disagree with much of what Terry was saying. As well. Jacob, I'll go to you. Roughly, how would you be looking to set up on Saturday?
I know we've been more effective for the majority of the season playing 3 at the back, but potentially I think Alex Neil, for a game like this, he should have no fear in switching to a 4, considering it's a winnable fixture at home. I think a 4-3-3, I would say, is what he should go with based on the players we have available. Personally, I think Callum Doyle, I think he's had a spell out now, time to recharge his batteries, and I think he'll come back in, and I have every faith. It's just a case of he was burnt out before. I think him alongside Bailey Wright, at the end of the day, it was a solid partnership earlier on in the season. There's no reason it can't be a solid partnership when he comes back in, and personally, I think he should be brought back in on Saturday. I think he'll partner Bailey Wright. Lyndon Gooch, I think he's been playing as a wing back the last few weeks, but personally, I think on his day, he still can be a solid choice at right back. I think over the course of the season, I think he has improved a little bit on his defensive capabilities. And at the end of the day, he might not have the technical ability at the final third, but he is, a strong physical player to have in that position. I think Jay Matete should be brought back in to partner Carl Winchester and Dan Neil in the middle. I would personally like to see Winchester back in the middle. I think he's a more gifted player on the ball in the middle of the park, keeping the flow of the game going, even though he has been solid at fullback and sometimes even as a right centre half. I think he is the type of player, you do need if we're going to play a possession type of game, but depending on whether Stewart's out or not. And I think the front 3 speaks for itself. Clark left, Roberts right, and it's a case of whether Stewart's fit or not. But if he isn't fit, it's not what I wanted to do. But I think Broadhead's got to come in to start. But apparently he's been training all week, Broadhead, so hopefully he's raring to go if that's the case. But fingers crossed Stewart will be up top on Saturday.
Yeah, I think we're going to hope for that, really, can't we? Just very quickly, 132 people watching and 75 likes, so we're only 25 likes off the magic number that is 100. So if you haven't already, please do give us a like. If we do hit 100 likes, I don't know, maybe Terry will sing us out at the end of the show or something. And just a reminder as well, it is free to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and you won't miss any of our future streams or videos. Just quickly going back to the live chat, Mick Griffiths in there says, is there any chance of a free agent coming in? Which I think a few people have been looking at, and I don't think there's anyone other than Diego Costa available, really, in the field market, which can't quite see him joining Sunderland for the 7-game playoff push and the playoff semi-finals as well. Tom in the live chat says he would put Corey Evans in the bin. I think that's a good position. I think he would do very well there. The Bristolian Mackham as well makes a fair point. He says if McGeady's fit, he'd put him up front, which I think isn't a bad suggestion. I mean, McGeady's we have not really heard much on McGeady's fitness situation and how far he is in coming back from injury. But I think if he was on the brink of coming back, I wouldn't mind kind of putting him into that fold that I was suggesting of having, kind of a few wingers and attacking midfielders rotating. I certainly feel like McGeady did quite well last season in particular. He was given a bit of a free roam. I remember against Lincoln in the Papa John semi-final, he was kind of just allowed to move up the pitch a lot in the second half. And I remember he went out on the right-hand side when there was a bit of space, put a cross in, and we scored and equalised. So, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that, just kind of letting him free roam around a bit, really. Patrick Ward's in. Who else could fill Stewart's boots? Do we have any strikers apart from the injured ones? And it was Kim Yorker and Harris, aren't they, really? Kim Yorker, the 23s, Harris currently out on loan. And Thomas Hunt as well says, put Xhaka in and go with the fluid front three as they all rotate as the number 9. Lads, I think we'll get on to score predictions now, though. Jacob, we'll start with you.
Cheeky 1-0 win to the lads, but it will be a scrappy affair.
Oh, a cheeky 1-0. What's the difference between a 1-0 win and a cheeky 1-0 win?
We'll grind it out, but it will be a late winner.
So that's the definition of a cheeky 1-0 win.
Mm.
All right, then.
I thought it was like a backheiler or something, or maybe it's a punch in the back of the net.
A scrappy goal from a set piece. I would say that's a cheeky 1-0.
Oh, well then. Jack, do you think it's going to be a cheeky result on the weekend?
I don't know about cheeky, but I think it'll be frustrating because I think they've got the tails up. I think if we played Gillingham probably 2 months ago, or maybe not, I was going to say 2 months ago when our form was better, but our form wasn't great. But I think if we played Gillingham under Steve Evans, the way that they were going, I would have been very, very confident of getting the win. But they look like a completely different animal under Neil Harris now. They look like they're fighting. They're all working hard for each other. They've got a bit of momentum, as I've touched on, which is crucial. It's key at this stage of the game, at this stage of the season. Sorry, the teams are winning it and they're going into games of confidence. And I think they've got that at the minute. They seem to like to be on a little bit of a roll almost. So I think it'll be a tough game for us. I think you look at the league table, or you look at it from an outsider looking in. You say Sunderland at home to Wigan should probably be an easy win, but I think it'll be really, really tough. And I wouldn't surprise if they ground out a 0-0 or a 1-1. Do you know what I mean? I hope I'm wrong, but I can see them getting something from the game just because purely the way that they're playing. I think I'll probably go 1-1.
Yeah, I feel like there's a select few teams in League One who often get a result against us. I would say, Gillingham, Fleetwood, Shrewsbury, Burton. And it's these kind of, I was going to say no disrespect to them really, but smaller clubs who I think, often need a point or would take a point, and they come to the stadium with no real ambition of winning the game, but kind of sit back, make things difficult, probably have some dirty tactics, a few little, slide kicks and elbows in there, time waste, and eventually, like you say, Jack, frustrate us, grind out a result and probably keep us.
We do have to win, though.
You want, sorry, Jack?
I think it's, sorry to interrupt. I think it's crucial to win, though. I mean, at this stage of the season, the only time now in the end of the season, I maybe take a point at Oxford, possibly a point at Plymouth. Other than that, I think you've got to be looking for 5 wins in the other 5 games.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation now where it's like every game could be the one that you look back at and go back. I do believe it could go down to the very last game of the season, and teams are missing out by goal difference and by just a few points. Jacob, just make it brief because we are shortly running out of time.
Well, first of all, I remember Neil Harris. He played for Millwall in the FA Cup semi-final 2004. Was part of a team that ruined my day that day, a 1-0 defeat. But back to
were they playing Arsenal that day, were they?
No, they were playing Man United in the other semi.
Oh, right,
We had
okay.
Millwall.
But if you
ruined
ruined your day, Jacob, I quite like the bloke now. I think he's all right.
cheers, Jack. Nah, honestly. But back to what we were saying. Obviously, if he's out, obviously we pray that he's not. Big question for all of you: who would you have on the penalties?
What, on Saturday?
Yeah, if Stewart's out, because he's been taking them recently.
I mean,
Anthony Patterson.
I can't really say it's a question that's been keeping us up at night, like Jacob, but I think should we get one, maybe we should decide it there and then.
Dan Neil.
Dan Neil.
Trey Hume. I'd put Trey Hume on the penalties. Sorry, Jack, did we get a score prediction from you, by the way?
Yeah, I said 1-1. I think it's Terry.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. We're on Terry. Terry,
How we man 1-1. Gillingham a bloody shite, man. Our man, the fifth or bottom for a reason, man. Absolute garbage.
Previous guest,
We're gonna get up on Saturday morning, stew it out for this season. We'll all be down, disappointed. Put Roberts up front. He'll score a hat trick in the first half, and Gillingham's heads will be down and gone. And we'll win 3-0. Nothing worried about. Nothing to be worried about.
Is that a cheeky 3-0 win, Terry, or just a standard?
Well, yeah, is that cheeky? Roberts at half-time will run out of the crowd, someone will buy him a pint and neck it down, and then go for half-time. There we go. Cheeky 3-0 hat-trick from Roberts.
And then he'll get his cheeks out. Stephen Amos on the live chat saying 4-0. Jeff Allcroft saying 1-0. Neil Thompson says early goal and 2-0. Stephen Amos saying 4-0 at half-time. Tam says a 1-1 draw. If Ross is fit, 0-0 if not. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go for a cheeky 2-0 win myself. I'm not going to predict the goal scorers, although I think Trey Hume will score a penalty in the 87th minute, and that's how we're going to end up winning the game. Anyway, lads, we can
get his cheeks out if he scores a penalty, though. That's the thing.
Well, hopefully, although you might
just do that.
Card for that then, though.
We'll be running out the cheeky girls. That'll be the run out song on Saturday.
Anyway, lads, there we go. We'll stop this now before it descends into more madness. Jacob, would you like to say good evening to everyone?
Good evening, everyone. And as I always say for Saturday, keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Jack, have you got a message for all of our lovely viewers on this fine Thursday evening?
Just get behind the lads and hope we win. And see you later, lads and lasses.
See you later, lads and lasses. There it is. Terry, would you like to sing us out just after, but before, would you like to have a little message?
Do you say good evening at the start or good evening at the end? Because for me, you say good evening at the start and you say good night at the end.
Well, good night then, whatever. unless you're watching abroad, then it might be in the morning. You never know.
Well, I tell you what, Roberts will be singing on Saturday. Let me entertain you. With a lovely hat-trick.
Well, on that note, thank you everyone for watching us. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll hope for 3 points on Saturday, and we will be back on Sunday for the Sunday Bunch, where we'll hopefully be reviewing a Sunday win. But from myself, Jack Dodds, from Jacob Kirkby, from Jack Shields, and from Terry, the Mad Mistake, we will see you later. Take care, and bye-bye.